class with Fritjof Capra. He wrote the book back in the 70s called The Tao of Physics. And he is still going very strong. World works, so get it. There's a quote here: "We will conserve only what we love, we will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught." And Baba Dioum was a Senegalese forestry engineer and former director of the water and forestry industry in Africa. At the bottom left, and I want to thank Valerie and Susan Johnson for hosting us tonight, certainly, and I don't have your logo up, and I should have done that, but next time. North Fork Environment, as usual. Takwi Turchin is with me today. She's our land use coordinator for the town of Riverhead, and you all know Ann Murray as our Southold land use coordinator from NFEC for a while now. Down in the bottom corner, there's a thing that has my name and the date, and the CC40 by NCNDSA, and it's not North Carolina, North Dakota, and South Africa. What that is the Creative Commons, which is a license, so that if you do use this material, that you say that it's by the person's name, which would be me, that it's not for commercial use, NC, that's non-derivative, so you can't take it apart and put it back to somewhere else and call it your own. And the third one is share alike. So if I'm sharing it with you, please share it with other people. You've got a handout here, and this is the flow. We're going to be, the courses that we're going to be giving. Tonight is Ecoliteracy. It's the foundational view of what we're trying to deal with. The next one is bioregioning. I'm combining nature cools and slow the flow for this group. I'm splitting it out for another. He's opening an educational platform in India. He's asked me to start with them November 19th. And the Bio for Climate people up in Boston have asked me to start in January. And the Coastal New Hampshire Permaculture Association Society has got me going in January as well. If you want to them for free, share alike. So this is about self, and that bioregioning, we're going to talk about the bioregion, the Peconic bioregion, which is very special, by the way, as a place. But where we're going to start is with our value. I did last week when we took a look for the talk that I did here as a guest in the pulpit, that the UU values and mission and vision were all very clearly stated. And I've worked with nonprofits and for-profits, and these people haven't got a clue. They either don't have any values or can't state them. So as we go along, and if you've got values that you want to share right now, I'd love to hear them, because I don't hear them. I don't get them from people. So just spit something out, anything, just anything. What are your values? Respect, cooperation, Bill? No, just basic values, because all of those translate, right? All of those translate into how we treat our earth and each other. Trust is good. Trust is a big one. Yep. Thank you. All right, we need a lot more of that right now, don't we? All right, so those are, and if you notice that there's two other things in that box: beliefs and norms. So the values, beliefs, and norms, the VBN theory is that we have certain values based on the things that we believe, based on the norms of the culture that we're involved with. And that could be something simple, like coming from this church or this organization, you're going to have a certain set of values, beliefs, and norms. And they're not going to match up with somebody else's. All right, so the important thing is to know what people's values, beliefs, and norms are so that you can start from a common ground. It's very important that you know what people value first. A lot of times it's their kids. A lot of times it's their work ethic. There's a common ground that we can go with. And the other term that I'm going to be talking about here and there is the idea of the difference between outputs of the metrics. They're the quantifiable things. If I get and you want to see 1,000 tons of food scraps by the end of the year, there's the metric. The outcome for that is that we've improved the soil, we've decreased methane, we've reduced the number of trucks on the road. Those are the outcomes. And actually, those are outputs too. The reduction of fossil carbons used for those activities is also an outcome. An output, right? The metrics, the quantitative, but the qualitative are the things that improve our lives, the quality of life. How do you measure your quality of life? So we're going to be talking about that quite a bit too. And those are all the positive things that we want. And we're going to probably touch on the idea of long-term decision-making, especially in a political system that we have, that people either are in office for 2 years or 4, or you look like somebody like Gerald Nadler, who was in for, 45, right? So long-term thinking is not always what people are doing when it comes to our society. This is pretty. This is the values, beliefs, and norms section of the Sustainable Development Goals. It was created by the United in Rio de Janeiro. Their goal is for 2030, and if we want to remind ourselves, 20 years ago, and that right now it is 50 months away. And the staggering thing that they're realizing is that we are not a lot closer in 2025 than we were in 2012 on most of these things. And I don't mean to disparage the SDGs. I've got another course on these as well, so we can talk about them briefly now. But I want you to, we're always talking about language and framing. The idea that we talk about zero waste or we talk about a circular economy, and the mission of that is to pull food scraps out, for example, out of the waste stream, because they're being wasted because they are resources. Once you change the word to food scraps as a resource rather than food waste, it takes on a different dimension. People's perception, their values, their beliefs, and their norms change when you change the language. So I want you to note the language of no and zero, right? So no poverty, zero hunger, right? Those are absolutes. But there's also in this mix is reduced versus static. So clean, affordable, sustainable, responsible. Right? These are all kind of which I'd like a safer community. Well, what does that mean? You add one cop, you're safer, right? It doesn't mean you're changing the crime rate any, right? So more for the absolutes, and in this case would be good health. Good health, really? What about great health or wonderful health or well-being? Because the language is not here. Decent work, well, what does that mean? Yeah, I got decent work. I got to set up tables today. That was decent work, right? But we're always talking out in the wild out here, decent work for our people. And that means a livable wage. And what does that mean? So when you say that something is good, it's not doing it for me. Right? There's no outputs on this. Zero hunger, you're talking about 8.6 billion people not being hungry. All right? We've got 1 billion people right now that don't have fresh water. 1 billion people do not have fresh water. So if they had safe water, would that be better than no water? It's not clean, but it's safe. There's a difference between safe water and clean water. You can have safe water and it's brown. Right? So where do you want to put your sights? This is really what you want to think about as we go along. These. Just call it out. What do you see that some of these have in common or don't? It's a workshop. Did I mention this is a workshop? Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Poverty, in order. Zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action 13, life below water, life on land, and these two weird ones at the end, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. You see things in common with those, or that they should be organized together somehow, or one's more important? You got priorities. Are you figuring out priorities on these? Okay, you're going to put 11 and 12 together. Okay, 13 and 14, maybe even 15 probably, right? Yeah, okay. 8 and 9, decent work and industry. Yeah, I'd go with that. Doesn't it, though? And so does clean water and equality and justice have something to do with each other, too, right? So it's almost like you can't separate them. Sustainable goals, Reverend Val, sustainable. You like that word? You happy with that word? Sustainable, what does that mean? Yeah, we're spending $1,000 a week right now. It's sustainable. How long? How long is this sustainable? How long? Let's pick a number. How long? Is it good for 40 years? 100? Worry about it. Kick the can down the road. There you go. I gotta love that. Too bad, kids. Yeah, and passing, yeah, and passing that money down, and we're having big discussions about inheritance taxes and so on, right? And capital gains and the rest, right? Yeah, education quality. We're back into the qualitative discussion again. I'm glad. I knew we would do that here. It doesn't happen everywhere we go. So we're with that. Then I'm going to suggest that there's a organization out there called the Long Now, and they built a clock. It's the size of this room, and it's good for 10,000 years. All right, so that's the Long Now, 10,000. I mean, come on, people. The Aborigines in Australia have been here for 60,000 years. Why are we so short-sighted? 2,100. We're all going to die. Is that what we're doing? Is that the number we've picked? It's 2050. 2050 is, and the collapse of the tipping point for the coral reefs happened this week. Yeah, right. So what's next? I mean, we'll talk about interconnectedness soon. I got to find a bigger, better picture of this, but I just want us to think, and I heard from one of the questions I asked on Sunday, what's the biggest threat? A whole bunch of people said carbon or carbon dioxide. And we are so focused, and especially the news, I read all the time, and it's carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's my cheering section over here. Yes, the other part of this is loss of habitat, taking away, stripping all the green out. Who's taking up the carbon dioxide? If the vegetation is gone, who's taking up the CO2? Me? If we all stop breathing, 8.6 million people stop breathing for 2 minutes, held their breaths for 2 minutes, we'd still have a CO2 problem. So it's not us personally. The numbers are coming from burning of fossil fuels, fossil carbons, by the way. So changing the lens, and if you look at this, I'm going to make a handout for next time. This circle on the right, mass extinction, freshwater access, resource scarcity, what else am I looking at? Inequalities, land access, health. There's a whole other things than just carbon and the economics of it involved. And this is where I'm going to ask us to be involved, because we're not going to build a carbon dioxide removal machine. All right, and they're doing it. The Germans just did it. It was $40 million. We have a budget, and we're creating 300 gigatons, 300 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year on this planet. Only last year it went to at 380 or 400 or 430 billion tons. So they're building these machines, and so far they've pulled out 100 tons a day. Yeah, we're getting towards that billion, right? It's not happening. It's not happening, and it's like, I don't know, something like $10,000 a ton just to capture. And they're big vacuum cleaners is all they are, made out of stainless steel and copper windings and concrete footings and all the stuff that you had to burn to make the machine to pull the burnables out. All right, so I'm trying to show the dichotomy and the oxymoronishness of this. Don't say there's no word like that, please. No, okay, thank you. I'm allowed. So this with the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 things in that square boxish thing, a friend of mine, John Schull, put that together just to show that unless you've got a healthy ecosphere, unless you've got a healthy planet, you don't have healthy soil, water, air, people. And if you don't have healthy people, you stay home from work, right? So I'm constantly going for the economics for people. It's like, if we have healthy food, we're going to feel better. We're going to go to work, and we're going to work better, right? So what's in it for me? I'm always, So this fellow Johan Rockström, one of my heroes from the Stockholm, Swedish Resilience Center, put this together a few years back, and it put everything into place for me. So that the basis of all of this is life below water, life on land, clean water and sanitation, and climate action. If you don't have those things, you don't have the rest. Or if the bottom is broken, the rest is broken. It's a crack in the foundation. So societal comes next. And if you look at hunger and sanitation and water, all of that is in the next part of that wedding cake. It's called the wedding cake. And up at the top is the economy, because if we're working well and we're healthy, and our water is healthy, we're going to have kelp farmers and oyster farmers, and they're going to be healthy, and they're going to go to work every day. All right? So this is really the fundamental. Earthrise. Everybody's seen this, right? The picture of Earthrise from the moon. And notice how the moon hasn't got a lot going on. And our talk is that we're going to be terraforming Mars. Which is... what is it, 2 years? I think 2 years of flight time away from here. So it's reasonable. My grandson's considering it. We are, what's that? Yes, well, yeah, he's got plans, like, what do you want to talk about today, James? My future. Good, let's do that. So the Earth, you see, it's been called the blue marble. And that's exactly what it looks like. It's the only planet that looks like this for a very long distance. It's one planet in 8. We decommissioned Pluto some time ago. I'm very disappointed, right? Because Mother makes jelly sandwiches under no protest, so the protest is gone, right? Yeah, I'm very disappointed. We are in a solar system, one solar system of the Milky Way spiral galaxy, which has, in our galaxy, in the Milky Way, there are hundreds of billions of stars. They've gone between 100 and 400 billion stars. And there's so much room between them, space between them, that if you folded the Milky Way in half, nothing would hit anything else. All right? So that's the scale of space and time that we're dealing with here. The galaxy is one of trillions of galaxies in the universe. Our next door neighbor, nearest, Andromeda, is 2.5 million light years away. So if you take 186,000 feet per second and multiply that times a year, and then multiply that by 2.5 million, that's how far away it is. So we're not close, all right? We're not close to anything except here. And the question, of course, well, you're going to go terraform Mars. Why don't we just take care of what we've got here? It's been here. It's been in this current situation that we're very used to for about 12 or 15,000. The stable climate, the Anthropocene, it's been this stable for about 12,000 years. We started farming. I'm tired of hunting. I'm tired of gathering. Let's start farming. So we got very stable in our positions here. But this particular, our species is about 300,000 years. That's how long we've been here. There weren't many of us. I mean, they dropped down, they figured, to about maybe 1,500 individuals at one point during some of the ice ages, right? And then all the other, our relatives that we killed off, that weren't like us going back about 1 million years. So we knocked off 3 other species to be us. The Earth is, anybody know how fat the Earth is? I mean, what diameter the Earth is? Anybody want to say 12,000 miles? No, it's 8, right? Is it 8? No, I think it's 12. It's 25 around. That much I know, right? If you walked around the equator, it's 25,000 miles. No, I know. After you've walked a couple of weeks, it's time to get to, right? Yeah. So I think it's 8,000 miles across. This is a mistake. I made a mistake. D in biology. This is me. That atmosphere, that blue line that's showing on the second picture, how big is that? How high is that? Go up in an airplane. How far can you go before you need the oxygen mask? 35,000 feet, right? 7 miles, right? Yeah, the first mile is about the best, right? The most oxygen, the most clouds, right? But once you get to 7 miles, it all turns black. You get to 90,000 feet, you better be wearing a spacesuit, pressurized and heated, right? So that's what we are looking at. This is our planet. And you say, how can we have possibly filled up our atmosphere with all this garbage? Well, when you're looking at, it's 1/8 of an inch thick over that diameter, that's all that is. And we've done it. We have done it. 24,000 miles across? No, around. That's around. Yeah, how much through? Give me the I need a diameter. Come on, Vanna. It's good to have a helper. Yeah, that's it too. The internet is so great. You can just, there you go. It's 8,000, not 12. Okay, so thank you for that. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got friends in India that's only 10,000. It's not even halfway across the planet. Right? So, yeah. These are the distribution of our mammals on Earth. And I want you to, don't squint too hard. Let's see, the wild ones are the turquoise ones. The first 4 of those, 100? That's all the wild animals we've got left. Right? The next one, the blue people, is all the people that, it's 45% of, I wish I could read this. No, that's not right. 4%, yeah, 4%. Right, the rest of it is us. The other 96% is us and our cows, sheep, and chickens, and goats and pigs, and bison. Yeah, no, the dogs aren't in here. No, yeah, camel, bison, goats, right? It's us. Yeah, it's all us and what we eat. Yeah, it's us and what we eat. So on the left-hand side, if you looked at how much farmable soil there is left in the U.S. for us, how much soil is left for the wild animals? How much have we taken up for cars? Hay, ass. So part of what we're looking at, how much of the soil has been claimed, how much is remaining, and how active. England's figuring 24 years left of their topsoil. That's all they've got till 2050. And they're going to have unless they regenerate, unless they start caring for their soil and using soil remediation and soil amendments and all the fertilizers, not chemicals, putting the compost back, organic matter. All right. So Ira, you probably know Ira Haspel from KK's The Farm. He was talking about it. I said, well, have like 100% compost, 100% soil organic matter. He said, no, you'd kill everything because there's too much nitrogen. There's just too much health. He said some plants love 10%. He says, but other plants don't go near it. They want 1 or 2%. That's good enough. So every plant's different. So it's not just a blanket number. What have we done? How do we use our land? What do we do in our comprehensive plan? Land use. It's all land use and zoning. What are we going to do with our land? How much have we changed the land? How many woods have we knocked down? Right? The land use and change, or land change, is killing us. And then land cover. What do you put on it? All right, so we've got land, we put asphalt. We got land, we put sod. Lawns, yes. All right, we'll get to that. Thank you. And our domestic animals. All of these things that you want to see are available. I'm going to talk about 1 billion people in 1800, 2 billion in 1927, 3 by 1960. So we went for 123 years, and then when we went for 33 years, and 15 years later was another billion. 12 years later was another billion. 6 billion by 1998, which is only 11 years. So we're starting to accelerate our population by growth. 7 billion in 2010, 8 billion in 22. Both India and China are way over a billion each. But China only hit that number in 1982. They stopped at a billion because of the one-child policy. Right, so you got into the habit. So you've changed the values, the beliefs, and the norms of the entire system to a new norm. People adopted that behavior. Now they've gone too far the other way. So we want to think about when we legislate or when we regulate or when we make laws or those kinds of provisions that you must, just look at the long-term effects. What do these do? There is fertility tourism now. Procreation vacations. IVF has been authorized in the U.S. in 2025, if you noticed, but you got to pay for it. So who's got the money for IVF? Yes, some do, but I'm just looking. Mm-hmm. So it's been said, and it might have been Kissinger or not, control the food, control the people, control the energy, control whole continents, but control money and control the world. So, but if the soil is poor, the people are poor. Got nothing to do with money. Soil contains our energy, our water, and all of life. How much water's on the planet? There it is in that big giant marble on the left. That is all of the oceans of the world in one ball. The little ball next to it, it's like the size of, I don't know what that is, all of our water from our glaciers. And that little thing over in Georgia, can you see the one in Georgia over next to left of Atlanta? That's all of our lakes and rivers. That's all it is. Because that, by volume. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So the ocean is salt water, you can't drink it, but there are people spending billions of dollars to figure out how to desalinate, especially. Yeah, they've been doing it longer than a lot of people. The Egyptians, the Saudis, I mean, all the people who have oil and no water are figuring that out. Their oil money to make. Interesting. We're going to talk about the underground fresh water that we have here on Long Island. And then there's two things called the small water cycle and the large water cycle. The small water cycle is plants create our clouds and returns back to the soil, or right out into the sound. We'll talk too. The large water concept out there now called the biotic. They're suggesting for a number of years now is that there's so much water being transpired by the vegetation that it creates, when rain falls, it creates a vacuum. That creates a low pressure system underneath and drags in all of this moisture from the oceans. All right, so it's a huge water cycle. In the recently is the, what do they call it? The atmospheric rivers. Have you seen the picture of the atmospheric rivers? That's exactly what they look like in the Amazon especially, but they're getting them in California now. Yep. So we're starting to see those. Take notes when you see those. And what is our disruption of the water cycle? We'll get to that in a later course. Another budget, the water budget. We didn't talk about the solar budget yet, but there's our water budget, and there's a little picture, graphic of Long Island, and you can see underneath the upper glacial, and then the Magathie, and then the Lloyd, which is way down by the clay, rare tan clay, and that's where we get our water from. So when it falls on the land, where does it go? Right? Down the driveway, out the street, into the Great Pipe, and out into the Sound, into the river, into the bay, into the wherever, right? So I'm going to suggest that this is a linear consumption model as well. So we don't just take, make, use, and waste material goods, but we have the same model for water. You have a question, Bill? Are you stretching? Okay. So we do the same thing with water. We take it, we use it, and we throw it away. It's exactly what we're doing. We're not making the cycle complete, and we'll get to that some other time too. So, and it takes, so for a 100-foot tree, a drop of water takes about 2 weeks to get to the top. And I figured that out the other night. It's about like a quarter of an inch a day or whatever, an hour or whatever. It's very slow. And of course, if you have shorter vegetation, it's a lot slow. It's a lot quicker, but it's not as much. So trees are creating the most water through transpiration or evaporation than every other plant. So the trees are kind of the key, but not the only one. Some of the water that we have takes 2 weeks. So if you live on the bluff and you throw water on your lawn, it takes about, a couple of weeks to show up in the Sound. So if you fertilize on the coasts, on the coastlines, everything that you drop water on is going to wind up in the bay, the creek, or the Sound within a very short time. Whereas getting back to the Sound, the river, the ocean, the aquifer might take as much as 50 years. Right? So how fast are we pumping, and how fast are we putting it back? Some of the really deep aquifer could be 50 to 500 years. It may never get back. Right? So we start pumping. So just to talk about quantity, I use the number of 2 people per day in a household, and there's your barrels. That's the little insert with the barrels there. It's about 4 or 5 barrels times 20, 55 gallons, 200 gallons a day, about 100 gallons per person per day. And that's for cook and flush and wash and clean. That's not to fill your pool, to water your lawn, or to wash your boat. Okay, it's just basic. Yeah, none of that. Just living. Okay. I went to 2.5 people for a week because Southold, you people are at 2 people per household. Riverhead's at 2.25, and everywhere west of us in Brookhaven and beyond is about 2.5 people per household, residential. Right. So those are good round numbers to work with. So for the 2.5 people in my house, there's a week's worth of water. I can't even imagine the guy showing up with a truck once a week, right? And taking those, 20, 21, I don't know, it's more than that. It's 30 barrels of water, taking away the empties once a week and giving me 30 more. Okay, so just think of the quantities. On the right is the map of the Ogallala Aquifer in the middle of this country. It covers 7 states. It's been used for agriculture over and over and over, so much that in the red zones, they are underneath the ground in the aquifer. It's 120 feet below full. So 120 feet times all of that area, you're talking about trillions of gallons that are not being recharged. We take, we make, we throw it away. No, it's for the crops. Oh, for the crops that go to the farm animals. We're going to go back to that chart with all the cows on it, right? Right. Yes. Yep. Right. So there's a big lever there. And this is in yellow, which is really a bad color. What is this? Yeah, it's horrible, right? It's like, bzz, bzz. So this is, what is this? My water for a week? Oh, a year. Oh, it's me. My water for a year. Thank you. That's my water for a year, right? We've got 12,000 households here in Southold. We got 16,000 households in Riverhead. Brookhaven's at 100,000. right? A lot of people, a lot of people. All of the bioregion for our 5 towns is about 170,000 people. Right? So, and I know we're only paying 5 cents a gallon for 5 cents, sorry, per 10 gallons. But if you go to the grocery store, have you seen the 5-gallon jugs? They're $15. Nobody bats an eye. It's $3 a gallon. It's more expensive than gasoline. But, oh, it's cleaner than what we're drinking. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, all right? With the plastic in it and all the rest, they're starting to realize. Bottled water is, why is it so cheap compared to diamonds? What's the answer to that? Why are diamonds expensive? They what? You know, they've got artificial diamonds. I found out the other day. They work them in a big press. What are they called? Yeah, it was on QVC. I learned this from QVC. Right. So, but do you not think that if all of a sudden there was like only a gallon left in town, that it would not go to the price of diamonds quickly? All right. So it's based on scarcity. So there's 3 million people on Long Island at Jones Beach at some sort of concert. No, I don't know where it is. It's just it just gives you an idea about how many people we're talking about. All right, we've got 3 million people in 2 counties, and we've got 1 aquifer. Think back to that thing with the upper glacial, the Magathie and the Lloyd. Now, what it turns out, so the Suffolk County Water Authority during this last few weeks has told us that not to worry. We've got 93 trillion gallons of water in the aquifer. But if we're not recharging it, we've only got 845 years left. That sounds all right, right? We can do that. It's like 1,000, right? I could do that. But the problem is that the further, it's just like oil in the ground. The further away and it gets, the harder it is to get it. So yeah, there could be plenty of water down there, but no way to really bring it up. And when you hear that big sucking sound from the straw, they make a bigger straw. So this is the introduction to Slow the Flow for next time. We are that ball in space. The only input to this planet is sunlight. The water's already here. The soil is developed over time. That's it. That's all we get is sunlight. It's the only input from outer space. And everything in this room came from burning something. And what we're doing is burning things and putting it out as pollution into the air with just, I mean, how much of an automobile is used for transport? How much of it is turned into heat and comes out the hood? Friction, heat, excess heat, right? So if you look at the bottom, I'm not going to get into this for the numbers, but the idea is that we have taken all this energy and hung on to it. We've kept the energy within this blanket of carbon dioxide, methane, and water, for example, and we're keeping it hothouse Earth. The greenhouse effect, the hothouse Earth. So how are we going to get rid of this heat? Anybody want to help with that? Trees? Take it down, right? Suck it down, right? Yeah? What else? Yeah, take away the heat retainers. Yes. Yep. There you go. Green roofs. Yep. Yep. So just cover as much as we can with the green rather than going to carbon dioxide recovery, working with some other people that are working on stratospheric aerosol injection, throwing sulfur up above the cirrus clouds, marine cloud brightening, making the clouds over the oceans brighter so it reflects more. White roofs, there's another one. You know, like, yeah, let's put it back out where it belongs. But it has to, what's that? And it works. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Where's this? Oh, yeah, Greece. I mean, look at Greece, all the buildings, right? Right. Yeah. So Val, where did you do the white roof? Huh? Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's make pretend they always stay white, but all they're doing is just getting rid of the infrared, ultraviolet in, infrared out. All we're doing is just kicking that back up, and then hoping that it gets to the top layer where the cirrus clouds are, and that it gets released into heat, releases the heat into space, right? And that only comes when the rain happens. It just doesn't flitter away, right? So without clouds, we can't get rid of the heat. Without plants, we don't have clouds. There it is. I've said it. So, Taku, if you can give out the next page. Did I skip a page, or is this it? No, this is it, right? Yeah, we can turn the light on, too. Yeah, we're going to get into that eventually, I guess. I guess the right thing would, and I've run simple queries about this, and I asked the difference between, this whole thing is about nature-based solutions, right? Things that have been proven over 100,000 years, right? I'm not building anything new here for a long time. And I asked the difference between nature-based and technology-based solutions. And I think the answer is correct for what I asked. Remember, garbage, ask a stupid question, you're going to get a stupid answer. If you ask, so you got to really be in control. But one of the questions I asked was, which would be better? And it came out with the simple answer that technology-based solutions are going to be very good in the short term and very expensive, and there's going to be a lot of resistance, which we're seeing now. I mean, my people that are doing ocean iron fertilization, they're dumping big bucket loads, big loads of iron sulfate to get the phytoplankton to grow again. And it does work, but what are the unintended consequences, right? And if I do it at my house, am I going to have more fish than I need, and they're all going to kill each other, or they're not going to go to your house at all? Like the reefs, they don't travel well. Trees don't travel well, right? They only migrate 10 or 12 feet over a course of a year or a decade, depending on the tree. So they're not moving, they're not running fast enough north to get away from the heat. And the reefs aren't going anywhere for the heat. The most heat, 90% of the heat that we put out is in the oceans, right? And the ocean's starting to gag on this, right? It's going to get to a point where it says, I'm kind of done physically. Right? So with all of that in mind, so if we can bring down the heat, and again, watching what we eat, driving less. I don't need to buy an $80,000 car to reduce my footprint. I can just drive a whole heck of a lot less, and I do. We brought one car down to 3,000 miles a year. Okay, that's the best I can do, right? It's good, right? Yeah, use it when I need to. Make all right turns. The right turn rule, right? UPS figured this out about 50, 40 years ago, that they spent less on fuel. They were exposed to fewer accidents, crashes, because left turns are horrible, and they make you wait a long time to make a left. You're exposing yourself to more crashes, so they make all your right turns. I learned this 40 years, 50 years ago. So I make a right turn into Costco, I make a right turn to Walmart, I turn around, I come back, I make a right turn to 7-Eleven, I make a right turn to the Starbucks, and I make a right turn in, and then I go home, right? So it's a right and an out, and a right and an out, and a right and an out, right? So it saves on fuel and saves on time, and this has been, again, proven. It's a little neurotic, but it works. So this next sheet, and I've been working on this for, it looks like a long time at this point. I've got an entire dissertation on this, the scale that we're looking at. So if you look at the -3 on the left there, it's desecration, and we're doing this all the time. We're destroying things all the time. And I would maintain that even if you started doing the billion mangrove project, which also didn't work, by the way, or 1 million trees or whatever you have, unless you're stopping the damage first, it's all for naught. We have to stop the damage. The desecration of the thing that we are living on has to stop. And that, if you look down into the next one, or more into mitigation, we need a tree code. It's that simple. We don't have a tree code, or we don't have one with teeth. They've got one down in Village of Southampton. They got one for East Hampton. It's only for new construction, commercial. There's a lot to talk about there. But if you really wanted to help out, grab a Murray at NFEC and tell her you want to get on the tree committee, or you're up with the tree code. I found out Port's got it's a tree city. But there's no tree code. We'll plant them, but you can keep cutting them down. So the desecration has to stop. One of the things, the next thing is abrogation, the do nothing crowd. And boy, we're just full of that. But I read something interesting the other day. If I do this and this and this and this and this, well, your term is up. Yeah, we're back to that again. So these are all the things. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. And another thing is afraid to be wrong, right? There's another thing. We see this in our school systems. You know, I'm afraid to raise my hand and be wrong. Well, then I'm going to sit on my hands then. I'm not going to learn anything. Yeah, Bill. My next career is going to be on degrowth in America, so wish me luck. Excuse me. If you want to be real serious about that, it would be the numbers that I'm seeing is about $1 billion or $1.5 billion in the whole world. Yeah, so I'm good, and you 7 people. Yeah, and you 7 people go. I'm good, but you 7 got to go, right? So how do you make these decisions, right? These are decisions, or what's that we're seeing the sperm count drop. Yeah. For New York cancer, she's 25-year-olds coming with colon cancer and whatever. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Oh, yeah. Bloodstream milk, mother's milk. Oh, yeah. Plastic bags at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. I mean, microplastics in the snow in the Alps. I mean, we're done. There's no place else to go. We've gone everywhere with it. So, and there's a international plastic reduction conference going on, and they can't decide on anything right now. Well, I can see the point of having it, especially in a hospital, because I'm not going to flush out that tube and use that again, right? I can see the medical uses for that being probably the most logical, right, the health-wise. But how much of that is it? 10%? Yeah, yep. Yeah, there's a lot. Right, microplastics, sure. Yep. So, yeah, anyway, so the next one up is remediation, repairing the damage of the past. The next one is restoration, and I stuck it in there because I had to put it somewhere. Repairing the damage of the present. For example, a Meeting House Creek restoration over in Riverhead, down in Aquabog right now, working with. That was created by the bipartisan infrastructure bill. But we got to stop pouring all the toxins and the silt and the nitrogen down Church Lane to feed it, right? So we're going back to mitigation. Step back one and go to mitigation, stop the damage. So the Meeting House Creek thingy, the project is in the stop the damage to protect the one that's over here called restoration. It is a restoration, and eventually it'll survive on its own without a lot of dredging, and then it becomes regenerative of itself. So we got to stand back and help out, right? So this is where these, and if you could think of projects that you want to do or that are underway already, please fill those into the squares over there. I'd love to see what your thoughts are. I haven't sat down and thought of them all. When you see a newspaper article that mentions something, see where it fits on the spectrum of the scale of what we're doing. And I want to say that it's not a continuum or a sequence of events necessarily. You can skip around or hop back. These can be used as markers of a position in time. They can be used as decision-making priorities. And if Taco, you can give out the next sheet. These I've created, and they're obvious. I mean, anybody could have written these up, but I put them all in one place. I'm very happy. It's the levels of engagement. So whether it's personal or whether it's the next step up to your neighborhood, what really turned me onto these was all the composting, the food scraps we were doing. Where do you put them? In your backyard, personal, right? Your household. At the end of the block with 5 other neighbors, 10 other neighbors. In the community center at George Young over in Jamesport. We're doing that now. We've got 2 barrels. I saw them tonight on the way over. So we're doing it as a community. It's a small community, Jamesport, South Jamesport, right? We've got the bigger ones at the community level up at in Taqui's place, Calverton, up in Youngs Avenue, at the yard trimmings facility, not yard waste. Remember we talked about the framing and leaf litter. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yes, leave the leaves. Leave the leaves, lose the lawn. Yard trimmings. No, they won't take grass anymore. We stopped taking grass a long time. It's awful stuff. It's disgusting. It melts into this blue goo if you leave it too long. So, and we have to turn it every 24 hours. So we said, mulch it, put it back on the ground. Right? Put a mulching blade on your mower. Or he asked, well, yeah, but one step at a time. And there's another term that comes up after this, and it's called foot in the door. Foot in the one of the foot in the door behavior is to leave one section of leaves. Get over it, right? Put your neurosis away for just 1 year, and then it's like, wow, this is like good, right? No, we don't. Right. So then you go to government. So then and I've got a sheet that I'll be sharing at some point. I don't know when. It's the solid waste working, and it's got all the things from participation to legislation at the other end. Right? So grassroots and doing things as a community, as a group. And this is what we decided to do with the food scraps, so that we've got a proven track record so that you can go to legislation and work your way back into the middle. It is, and we don't have that kind of time, right? Check it, it's called WeDon'tHaveTime.org. I met the guy who started that some years back, Johann Falk, and that's exactly their point. And we need big money, and we need a lot of it to move from the fossil carbons to the nature-based solutions. But how do you make that economically viable? How do you make the green roof an economically viable alternative for a builder or an engineer or an architect? And I brought that up in the Riverhead Town Hall one time, and Marty, this guy, this builder, one of the favorite sons of Riverhead, said, well, I need a variance to go to the 5th floor. I said, well, if you're going to go to the 5th floor, then give me half of that as a green roof. He said, well, I can't afford to give you half of my rent for a green roof. And then one of our board members said, well, I don't know how you get the lawnmower up there anyway. This is what I'm dealing with. This is the reality. This is the reality of nature-based solutions and municipal government. All right? And this happens all the way around the world. So I'm not going to give that up for this because it's all about the money. So then I went home. I was very angry. I didn't say anything. I went home, and I looked up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and I started Zillowed the Upper East Side. And some of the top floor apartments were $800,000. The ones with the penthouse garden were $1.3 million. So come on, guys, really? There you go, and especially in the city. All right, but it's something, all right? And it's going to slow the flow, all right? It's going to keep the moisture on the roof. It's going to reduce the amount of runoff from the roof into the street, into the gutter. That's correct. That's correct. So we're getting back to social norms again, right? Well, Val's got a great roof. We should probably try that, right? And then you try, and pretty soon everybody's doing it. So we go from a few people are doing it to it's trending to it becomes a norm. All right? Oh, there you go. Right. So your norm is starting to shift. And there's a 25. What's that? Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And we found out during COVID that people needed green spaces to really recharge and get their heads back together. All right, so you can't deny that that's a thing. I mean, how many people go to the parks, on the weekend? Millions, right? There's a need for that, right? There's a human need for that. There you go. And people need it. So what am I to do? Wow, I write at an hour, blah, blah, blah. Pick an element that you care about, and there's only 4. Air, water, soil, and energy, right? That's all there is. And almost in order of need, human need. Air first. You can live 2 minutes without air. You can live 2 days without water. You can live 2 weeks without food. But you can't live 2 minutes without hope. Hope. No, not at all, because I need 100,000 personal people to do something, to wake up the people who are going to make the law, right? So there is no better or worse in this. I'm going to be speaking to the Carbon Crew. You know Carbon Crew? Dar Riley started it from the Drawdown days down in Southampton, and they're all about personal climate action plans, right? Can I refuse, reduce, then recycle. Reuse, no, reuse, repurpose. Right? So refuse. I'm not buying that box of 100 candy bars that are all individually wrapped, right? The little jujubes and the plastic. Yep, refuse first, and then don't buy as many, right? Reduce. Or buy the big container of something and put it in a glass, dude. So my 7-year-old grandson, apparently he caught this at school. He wasn't catching it at home. So little stupid plastic drink boxes, right? And he's going through 3 or 4 a day. It's killing me. So, and they're lined with pee. Stuff. So he tells me that, we learned about recycling. He says, I want my juice in a glass now. I can take the drink boxes to school because I'm only going to drink one, and it's real convenient. I can just throw it away, and it won't leak in my box, in my lunch box. But he says, I want the juice from the big container in a glass today. It's like, wow. Absolutely. Did you see their newsletter yesterday? They're brilliant. Change Hampton. The E is supposed to mean change and East Hampton. We know all those people. We partner with them. Gloria Frazee and Edwina Vidal, and I mean, there's a ton of people down. Yes. And it's not just a garden, it's a bioswale. I'm very excited. Yeah, the bioswale idea of bios. Yeah, to trap the water and let it sink. So part of the slow the flow, another preview here, to slow it from dropping and running away, to sink it further down, to spread it in the area that it falls, the rainwater, and then to share it. Okay, sink it, slow it, spread it, share it. Slow it, sink it, spread it, share it. Yeah, the nitrogen, the toxins, and the siltation. And what my town's really excited about is they're not going to have to pull out the drains. They're not going to have to vacuum out the drains as often. And the Peconic Estuary Partnership is actually Joyce had asked me 2 years ago, next month, could you guys talk about what's coming off of Church Lane into the new Meeting House Creek restoration? I talked to Michael Collins, your engineer here, last week, and he started running. Because I asked him, I said, what about bioswales and retention ponds? He went off because what he's trying to do, and I'm going to help do that in Riverhead, is to seal off all the culverts. Close them down. There's no need for all this water to be channeled into the sound, the creeks, the bays, the sound. All right? What's that? With all the crap in it. So what you do is you put plants in there, and I got a list from Ryan. What's his name? McGann today. I was on a call with Ben Shao over at Stony Brook. So they're using. He knew all the plants and their names and what they would uptake, and which ones. Sunflowers are really good at pulling up lead. Who knew? Right? And he said nobody cares because you're not eating the sunflowers. I mean, you should probably put a thing in there. Don't eat the seeds, I guess, but. Mm-hmm. Sad. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, let the birds eat the lead. So this is the foot in the door behavior. So a gas station guy puts in sunflowers, right? He's not really thinking about it. Yeah, all right. So right, and we can add some other kind of species in there that would pull up the cadmium and the selenium and the whatever all, right? So start getting people used to the idea of biodiversity, the diversity of vegetation. They all do. What's that? We're talking to Ryan and them about it today. If they do pull it up in the farm, what are you going to do with it? Yeah, Ben Shao, this chemist over at Stony Brook, is talking about they can break fluorine and chlorine bonds. Sorry, carbon and fluorine bonds. This is fluorocarbons is what FC is. And it's you need 2,000 degrees centigrade to break it with heat. You can't just smash it with a hammer. He says, but when the plants take care of it and when it opens up, you grab those fluorines and you stick them with the lead. Now you can deal with it. Now you got fluorine and lead. And they're both awful, but you can at least segregate them and do something with them. So phyto, meaning plant, remediation, meaning to fix, right? Phytoremediation. So we want to put these plants of certain varieties and species into the bioswale, into the retention ponds at the bottom of the hill to take out the remaining chemicals, right? Nature-based solutions. It's brilliant, right? Just amazing. Yes, nature is indeed. For 2 billion years of plants and water, right? Yeah. Well, so my job is to show them how they're going to save money. I'm sorry, that's my job. You know, Marty. Yes, late stage. Well, it's going to break on its own, or we're going to help find. I don't want to fix the current system. I want to create a new system that works. And we know what worked 500 years ago. We don't have to look that far back, right? So this is the plan. You know, start the snowball at the top of the hill. It's so much easier than rolling the big snowball back up the hill. So anyway, so from the full scale that you have here, pick your element and then pick a level of engagement. Personal is a great start, and then you talk to other people who are doing personal and say, hey, let's get together at the end of the block. right? Community, neighborhood, then community, whatever that is, and then you go to your government. And I'll tell you, we've had so much success. What we did for almost free, or we got a 20,000. We're on our food scrap grant right now. Enough, right? It's enough to show that it works. We've got the press, the news, and that's a whole nother discussion about community engagement, which will be your 5th week. Please. So on the website, by the way, Taku, I want to put this, the FAQ as a big question mark. What can I do for education? The next indicator would be, the FAQ is the education part. The what can I do is the engagement part. And then you look for the other ampersand, who can I meet with? How do I get connected with people who are already doing this? So I want to see all those wind up on the NFEC site, or call me, just call me. So we're through Ecoliteracy. Thank you very much for your attendance today. We've got it on tape, and it'll be $9.95 if you want it after today. But kidding. Bioregioning, nature cools slow the flow. The Miyawaki Forest, I'm going to be practicing on the 6th for the Carbon Crew. So I'm going to be doing the Miyawaki Forest introduction, but it's only like 15 minutes. I'd like to expand that to include depaving. Ooh. There's a guy. I know a guy. All right? Yeah, Pasilla one. Put it somewhere else. There's a market for it. Ooh, right? And you get somebody like Best Buy. And I keep I keep pounding on those people. They don't even know I hate them. So what they've got is a parking lot. So what our requires is that when you put in a parking lot for a restaurant, 300 seats, whatever, you need to have 1.5 spaces per seat in that restaurant. All right? Now you wind up with a parking lot with 300 spaces, and they only use about 120. Right? Black Friday, the week before Christmas. Oh yeah. And Barbara Blass, there's a thing called banking. And what you do is you come open up a restaurant and say, well, you're going to need 300 spaces. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put in 100 now. And if we find that we need to expand into the next 200, just leave it grassland or whatever it is right now, or we'll fix it up. Leave it. And if I find that I need the other 100 spaces, I guarantee you can find the asphalt guy that's going to show up and get that done in a weekend. That's going to get it done in 2 days. That's not a 6-month project. So you've been pre-qualified through zoning and planning to do your second 100 and your third 100 should you need them. So meanwhile, of course, with the shrinking of the malls and the shrinking of brick and mortar and all the rest of it, we've got to the point where we need to start pulling this stuff up. And the stuff by Best Buy is right over the river otter nesting area, and which is right inside the concrete enclave that Hobby Lobby knocked down 12 acres of forest to build Hobby Lobby. They put in the concrete barriers, and the river otters are still there, but I want to go further and put them to recharge the river otter nesting area, okay? So, these are the kind of things that we can do. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and brush hog them back. So I've got pictures, and I've got to make better pictures. I've got a thermometer, a little infrared thermometer. It's from the film that we watched, Regenerating Life, when John Feldman went out into the brown dirt, and he went into the grass, and he went into the trees, and he showed the difference between the temperatures. And I did it a couple of months back, and my front porch was 135 degrees because it was made of plastic called Trex. 135 degrees. You cannot stand out there barefoot. But in the shade on that same deck, it was only 90. But when it went out to the dirt, what's that? Yeah, it's hot. Not 135. I don't trust this thermometer either. I mean, you could have fried an egg on it, right? But so I went into the dirt, into the plants, into the grass, into the pool, and you could see the vast variety of temperatures. So once we start talking about putting vegetation in, instant cooling that this, and one of the, I'm working with Jim Laurie, he said we could do this in a year. One growing season would be enough if we really, really applied ourselves to bring the temperature down. And then they're all transpiring water and they're making clouds, and now we don't have a drought in the Peconic bioregion. The birds come back, the insects, the trees provide, food for the insects provide food for them. Yeah, healthier, right? So we're looking at the word healthy now, and well-being, right? These are the outcomes. Healthier is not the same as happier, yes, or happy. Happy would be good, right? So, yeah, that, and my last slide, of course, is to say thank you all for being here, and I found 65 ways to say thank you. No, I'm over, actually. An hour would have been